Hello everybody, welcome one and all to what is going to be an early game guide to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I am going to show you how to access the full utility of the arms manufacturing terminal right after you unlock it at the start of Chapter 3. Specifically, I'm going to show you how to start engineering augments immediately, and to do so, how to generate precious ore, which is the third component of gear development and crafting, alongside moranium and indigen materials that you've picked up. I'm going to show you which probes and primordia you can generate precious ore from, because not all probes generate precious ore. They all generate moranium, not all of them generate precious ore. But I'm going to show you a couple of ones you can grab immediately without much hassle, and how to synergize it with a normal mission you get access to, and how to get them with the available means you have right now, just as the terminal has opened. You do get a couple of augments as basic mission rewards to play around with, but you can craft much more powerful ones, as high as rank 5, if you follow this guide and hit the probe sites I'm going to show in this video. So, hopping into FRONTIERNAV here, doodle-doodle-doo. First then, the key sites. I'll show you them here. They are sites 115, up here on the edge of Primordia, and site 118. Hitting these two will get you almost every kind of precious ore in Primordia that is available without needing to touch any of the others. And if you want, you can just hit these sites in this guide, put mining probes down in both. They must be mining probes, otherwise they don't generate the precious ore, and be done with it. However, I'm going to show you how to take it a step further. A way of increasing the yield by hitting 3 additional sites in between. Those are sites 112, 114, and 117. And it will become clear why these 3 as I plant. And we'll also need the one that we planted in Chapter 2, Site 116 for this method, which should already have a probe placed from the story mission. So 6 sites, and we'll also be needing 6 probes, 6 mining probes to get this to work. You get 2 from Nagi for completing the story mission in Chapter 2. There are also some stashed away on treasure chests in the prologue and NLA, but you're still going to be short at least a couple, and there is a much more reliable way of getting the remaining probes you need. And this is where Kirsty is going to come into this. After you finish Chapter 2 story mission, she offers you the mission The Professional. Sort of a follow-up mission to the probe placement in Chapter 2, it's actually a requirement later for Chapter 4. Accepting this mission, just accepting it, without any completion or anything, she is going to give you 3 more mining probe G1s, which she's going to ask you to plant in Primordia for her by great convenience on exactly the same sites we're going to hit anyway. 5 sites and a key mission, 1 stone. I don't know if I can make that 2 birds and 1 stone analogy, but let's get going. Starting with the easiest, let's go to site 116. Quite simply, open FRONTIERNAV and put one of your mining probes down. Costs 1,000 credits, but you should have at least 7,000 to do this. Once you've done that, fast travel. If you've accepted the Professional and set it as priority, the next 2 sites are going to have mission objectives hovering over them. To get to site 114, make your way northwest directly from site 116 where you planted the previous probe, with the wall of NLA on your left, heading over the grassy slopes and staying near the herds of lepics, since there are no indigens with detection among them. Just round the edges closer to the cliffs are where you need to be worried about. There are a couple with site detection around there, but if you stay within the lepics herd and pass by Serene the Lost, the Tyrant, you will be at the site in no time. Once there, plant a probe. Next up, Site 112. Once again, has a mission marker. Keep heading northwest from Site 114 through a valley of lumbering sinicula beneath Sickle Rock Rise, a landmark that should get marked if you haven't already been past it. Keep going through that valley until you emerge on the edge of Seram Lake. This shore is crowded by sleepypotamuses, which again, they're not aggressive. You can easily walk by them. And there's also a giant Millisaur in the distance, moving north. And if you look closely, there are a couple of Terebra following it by for safety. If you follow them north, you will walk. You should just walk directly into Site 112. Plant a probe. Site 115 is next. This is one of the precious ore sites, and it's one of the more remote ones. Just northeast of Site 112 is a sheer cliff with a cove at its bottom. Once you've reached the cliff, follow the edge east Keep heading east past non-aggressive Evelo and Sneakular on the top of the cliff. They don't detect by sight. They're not a problem to you. Keep running along the edge eastward to its end, where the rock rises too high to climb. You should see it. It should be fairly obvious. Now, leap of faith, and you should land on the sand at the bottom of North Point Cove, having bypassed a group of fairly high-level Forfex. You have to be careful with Forfex, because in the rain, they get aggressive. The site we're looking for is round the corner to the east, past the peninsula. This site has got 3 precious ore varieties in it: Arc Sand Ore, White Comatite, and Lionbone Lord. You can go back to Kirsty now, and she will give you a research probe and another site to go after, Site 117, which is another site we want to head to. I'd recommend doing this just because it can set a mission objective for you, which, again, very, very useful. You can use it to track if you really get lost. Travel back to Site 116, and this time head north and east, heading for Roof Rock, that huge rock canopy that's down in the lower land. Dropping down from the cliff where the Grexes are prowling, you should pass by a lagoon of Potamuses or potentially down the Yellow Gully through the Evelo. Follow the edge of the pool that's underneath Roof Rock. Keep heading round the edge of it until the land opens out and the grass greens again. There's a giant tree standing alone by the lake, and the site is right beside it, along with some much smaller Sneakular and Lepics. Place it down. If you want to complete Kirsty's mission, put a research probe down here. If you want to follow this guide, put down a mining probe G1. Last but not least is Site 118, and for this one, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to show you the process and the trouble I had finding this site, because my own memory of FRONTIERNAV was not that good when I made this guide, and I got some footage that was rather funny and I could tell a little anecdote with. This site is around the vicinity of a small mountain on the north edge of Jampath Lake. In fact, the mountain is fairly obvious from the location of Site 117, but the beam of light that marks the site is not, at least not from the south side. Going around the back to the north side, there are lots of high-level Grexes prowling about and large rocks and boulders that could also obscure the site. I carefully scout about, even venturing to the opposite cliff where even more Grexes are guarding a small meadow, thinking the probe might be there. No sign. I then start to think it's not around the mountain, then maybe it's on top of it. But I still can't see any beam. I climb the mountain, circle it several times, and I still can't find it anywhere. But I know I'm in the right place. I can see as much on the map. So there must be something I'm missing. You'd be right. I decide to check lower. Since the mountain sits right on the lake, there could be a mouth at the bottom, and I'm going down. As I'm going down, I drop down to the bottom of the cliff and swim about in the water for a while, looking for a cave at the water level. There isn't one, but what I do see while I'm down there, I spot a natural incline on the south side that zigzags up, back up the mountain. There are some docile terebra along it. If by going onto the right-hand shore from the mountain, you can find the entrance to this incline, this zigzagging incline. I found the beginning and follow it to a cave. There's a cave hewn into the mountain, an opening at the top of this rise, and inside, at last, is the probe site. You cannot see the beam because it doesn't go through the mountain. It stops inside the cave. It's really well hidden, but collecting this site generates aurorite, white comatite, and dawnstone. Between the 2 sites you've picked up, you now have access to 5 types of precious ore. Now that the 6 sites are planted, there is a link connecting them. A green line that goes from one to the other in a chain of 6. Kirsty explains in the mission how probes of the same variety placed next to each other can chain their effects. This is why going for the probes in between was important. Sites 115 and 118 are at opposite ends of this chain, and they don't connect themselves. We needed the 4 other probes in between to enable this 6-chain production flow with an effect increasing of 50% to both Moranium and 5 kinds of precious ore that these sites are generating. Now, let's get those mining probes planted. 6 probes of the same rarity chained together. The boost is 50% for each of them. And I've not even addressed the Moranium. 3,000 each time that revenue comes through. In big part because 3 of these sites have got an A rank on their production, the second highest rank that's possible for a probe. The only higher one is S. You'll not be short of Moranium with this chain either. Now that that's set up, Moranium and precious resources will come through in increments of about 30 minutes or so. Well, you've only got probes in Primordia at least. Once you've got probes in other regions, precious ore will come in more regularly, but for now, it's every half an hour or so. Make sure you are not AFK. If you're AFK, then the resource flow stops. It pauses. It won't keep coming in. So make sure you're active whilst doing it, and you should just see a steady stream of Moranium and these resources come in. I'm going to wait a little bit here, and let's see what FRONTIERNAV gives us for precious resources, shall we? Let's see what it gives us. Ooh! White Cometite, then 2 Lionbone Board and 2 Dawnstone? I can immediately craft rank 5s with those. The latter 2 types at least. The Cometites for rank 1. Ooh, that means I can use them to put rank 5 into context against rank 1 for comparison. I'll use melee attack up and ranged attack up as examples. Elma and Lyn are strong at the start of the game because their bodyware gives them 4 melee or ranged attack up effects on their armor for a combined total of 40 extra attack, plus 1 per piece. You get plus 10 on every single attack up 1. A single rank 5 augment for comparison on melee and ranged attack up gives plus 30. That's worth 3 of their starting armor pieces. Craft one of these and you can take 3 of their pieces off, equip this to a slot and lose nothing. That's certainly an option. But for this, I want to take a different approach. I would like to take a look at some of these melee debuff inflictors. Namely, I want to take a look at melee physical resistance down, because most of our damage, especially our melee damage at this point in the game, is physical based. You can equip ranged darts out for beam, but for melee weaponry, you're confined to physical for quite some time, so having a debuff on melee attacks that reduces physical resistance, really, really handy. Additionally, melee blackout. Blackout, devastating debuff, lowers accuracy and evasion. Having that on a melee art, especially before we have any debuffs that can inflict it, really, really useful. Melee fatigue, also good. If you want, you can craft resistances as well. Resist fatigue, resist blackout, these. Or you can craft debuff extenders for side slash. Rank 1 only extends it by a single second. It's not worth it. Rank 5, however, increases it to 4 extra seconds, and you can get Extend Fatigue, Extend Blackout, Extend Blaze, Extend Physical or Beam. Your options are surprisingly diverse for the limited number of indigents you've fought so far. Suids, Overseers can drop most of the equipment, most of the materials that you need for these early augments, and Seculars as well are a rich source. If you farm them, you can get the materials quite easily to get a bunch of rank 5s if you've got the ore for it. But with those suggestions, happy hunting to you, and I will see you back in the main playthrough if you're watching along. If you're just watching this for a standalone guide, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I hope this has been helpful, and good luck. Happy hunting.